Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Secret Base figure preview video. Now before we begin, I do have to say a massive thank you to Ryan Kirkwood for going out in person and snapping these stunning high-res pics. Show Ryan some love in the comments below, because without him, this series literally wouldn't be possible. Now if you are looking to pre-order Boba Fett, he is available with toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and a points-based reward system. Now this figure is rather interesting. It seems as though Hot Toys still wants you to pre-order the quarter scale one, and by all means don't cancel your order of the throne version. And the way they're going to get you to do both of those things is to not give you a Boba Fett or Tamura Morrison head sculpt. Am I the only one who thinks that's a little bit weird, seeing as though you can't use the head sculpt from the throne version or the previous versions because the scars would be different? He spent a ton of time in the Bacta tank, and this particular figure is based off the final episode. You can tell because he's got his gaffy stick. Also, he did spend most of the time in the series without his bucket on, so the head sculpt just makes perfect sense here. Are they going to add one later? Perhaps, but I personally don't think that's very likely. What you see is probably what you're going to get. You get a few hands, some jetpack effects, a flamethrower blast, which, by the way, looks really good. I have no problem with the flamethrower effect. I love how the flame is a little bit more dynamic as it swoops upwards. You can also see a bit of variance in the color as it starts off a little bit more bluish purple, transitioning to translucent, and then ends up a stunning fiery orange. Now yes, Hot Toys, you'll have done it again. The tried and true sand footprint display base. Oh my goodness. I don't know how many characters in the Star Wars universe are eventually going to come with this display base, but Boba Fett and Cad Bane both certainly do. Now I think they get away with it here because the show is set on Tatooine. If it wasn't, I would be a lot more angry. Now, his boots do look as though they are fully sculpted, although I could be wrong. Those pleather spat pieces could actually be pleather, but to me that looks like rubbery plastic. They're painted really nicely, and they are one of the key new differentiators for this version of his costume. He also has his knee pads, which, quite surprisingly, aren't actually on his knees. They also look like a slightly different design with a bunch of chipping and weathering on the surface, but I think they look really good. His pants are also different. In Mandalorian, when he was sitting on the throne, they were a little bit bigger and baggier. Here, they're much more form-fitting, there's some padding on the knee area, and they do look like a much sturdier fabric. How is that going to affect posability? Well, we'll have to wait and see when he eventually releases. He does also have a pocket on one side, and then of course a holster for his blaster pistol on the other. The belt is also slightly different. It's this bullet/bandolier style belt with a bunch of cartridges along the sides, and a very interesting belt buckle. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, I really like the way it looks. It's modern, but it's still very Boba Fett at the same time. It's got a couple of pouches, it's tan leather, and he does have the cummerbund behind it. He also comes with a dynamic flight pole, so you can have him displayed mid-flight with the blast effects we saw earlier. Now the gaffy stick does appear to be the same one that we got with the Boba Fett 2-pack, which technically would make sense, but in the show, the gaffy stick did actually look a little different. It looked like a much darker, almost black color, where here it's a brighter silver with weathering on the surface and then that nice wooden handle. Now I never had a problem with the way this looked, but still, I don't think it's quite accurate to Book of Boba Fett specifically. Now, Hot Toys do still have time to change it and tweak it, but I don't necessarily think they have to, because if you think about it, This should be the same gaffy stick as we saw him using previously. It can be holstered on the side of his jetpack just like we saw in the series, but please let it not be held on by a super thin string. I'm hoping if they updated anything, let it be that super frustrating string. Now the armor itself looks really good. I like the layers of paint that you can see here, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of darker green, and some lighter green as well. Plus some silver chipping and dry brushing. It looks dirty, it looks grimy, it's Boba Fett. Now the screens aren't actually screens, but they do look as though they've been fully printed, so the little numbers or symbols are present. Now the upper vest area is black, which it was in Book of Boba Fett, and it looks great. It's all fabric, there looks to be no pleather here. So that means no cracking, no creasing, no degrading over time. You can go crazy with your poses. He also, of course, has his shoulder pads that are classic Boba. The Mythosaur skull on one side, and they are both done in a nice, vibrant yellow. The gauntlets are Return of the Jedi style. They're red with that silver dry brushing and some weathering in the crevices. The gloves are just like we saw with his newer armors, Mando gloves, but black. I'm not sure still why they decided to go that way. Maybe when Boba showed up on set, they were struggling to find him a pair of gloves, and the costume department just said, hey, we've got a bunch of spare Mando gloves, let's just paint them a different color. And that's what they decided to run with. But nevertheless, the fingers are a nice deep red, just like the gauntlets, so the look is still tied together. Also, that leather grain texture on the surface of the fingers is stunning. Well done, Hot Toys. They look really, really good. The blaster is familiar yet still slightly updated, with a nice silver barrel with some heat treatment right around the front. Of course, as Boba is blasting peeps, the barrel is getting slightly superheated, therefore the metal is getting a little bit discolored. The back, the stock section, is of course done in a nice wooden finish. It's all sculpted plastic, but the detail kind of makes it look like it is wood. He also has the scarf around his neck. Now I am curious, even though this guy doesn't come with a Boba Fett unmasked head sculpt, will we be able to use one of the head sculpts that come with the other Bobas? Don't worry, I will be testing that when this guy eventually comes out. Now, unlike the gauntlets, he isn't wearing the Return of the Jedi jetpack. This kind of looks like the Empire one. It's green to match the rest of the armor, there are a couple of blue sections, some silver ones, and some gold pieces as well. Now, the helmet is straight up classic Boba. It's been repainted as we saw in Mando, but it does still have some scratches and chipping on the surface. I really like the way it looks, the colour match between the helmet and the armour is on point, the mandibles are a slightly lighter green, and I really like the colour of the kill stripes. You will be able to tilt the little viewfinder down, just like we could previously with all of the other Boba Fetts. But my question is, if this series takes place immediately after Mandalorian Season 2, Boba sits down on the throne and becomes the daimyo, why on earth is his armor scratched? Did it get scratched on the way back to Tatooine? Was he just rattling around the Slave One and getting a bunch of nicks and scratches? Plus, his outfit, the underlying fabric pieces are different as well. Now, if they didn't show us that Boba actually changed pieces of his outfit and his armor in Mandalorian, then it wouldn't be a huge deal. But if you're showing us a character going from fully disheveled armor, going ahead and repainting it and showing off the new look, why change it once again, but don't address it? It just is super confusing. Nevertheless, I do really like this look for Boba. The black with the green, yellow, and red highlights, it just pops. Would I have liked a head sculpt? Absolutely, but at the same time, you bet I'm still going to get this figure. I love Boba Fett, and I love, as I said, the way this guy looks. Now, if you are looking to grab him, you can do so from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and a points-based reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon, plus the join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Check out Justin's Collection Plus, the channel membership. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.